like a fucking cowboy.
Look at me go, look at me flex, that's not a plane, more like a jet.
If you were to look inside my head, it would be super colorful, probably a bit scary, and chaotic in some ways, but it would without a doubt be a good time.
You do what you want when you hot. I spit quick, but the lines are slick. Get them on a regular like which one hits. Minute on a regular don't sound like this, but it still hits. I don't miss it, it's go, 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 like a go-go flow. And I'm almost known, and I told you so. When I throw these flows like it's Rochambeau, and I ain't too close, it's Joe Smo goes. And I'm not in the middle when I'm hot with a riddle, and I got just a minute when I stop. And the pivot that I got is a mission. You not in the winners on top, go the distance you flap. There's a difference, I'm on my grind. That is all the time. I do not do breaks, that's right, I stay in dry. And look, I'm back with a little bit of that, and a little more cash than it came in with. Ready, that cat is out that bad, but I still ask you, the boy got skills. I don't need her, I don't need him, I don't need help with me, I got this. I can sing songs, I can spit raps, and I can do both, even do this. She be on me and it's true, but I'm gonna go finish from top. You get what you want when you poppin', you do what you want when you hot.
You know,
Oh my gosh, he's like
Matt is different.
I always joke that Matt is the big little brother I never asked for.
I don't know.
Well, Matt is unapologetically himself 100% of the time.
He's just Matt is very layered.
I feel like I can come across a certain way, like insensitive, fuck that, very aggressive. But that's not the case.
He can be like very misunderstood by people.
Just a sweetie, doing my thing. Y'all come say hey, maybe hug it out, chest bump.
I don't know that anybody will ever fully understand how much of himself he puts into his work and his job.
When I look at Matt's pieces, they're super energetic,
Mind-blowing,
full of like these idiosyncrasies,
the raddest shit out there.
contradictions.
FU kind of pieces.
It's just him.
Through the years, it's just more and more and more. I guess like his last name.
I grew up, baling hay and digging trenches and working like with my buddies and playing football and going to bonfire parties and E-haul, yes ma'am, no sir, right? But then I also grew up going to poetry readings. It's funny, like with all my redneck buddies, like, I'm the outsider, but then in the art scene, I'm kind of this other thing too. But that's really only fueled me to just like remain myself and just keep doing things the way I want to do them. I have at least one or two things going on in the studio that don't have a deadline, that aren't for a client. It's just for me. I'm just painting it because I want to, and that's what this is. And so days where I get tired of doing whatever it is I'm doing that day for whatever client, like I'll come in and work on stuff like this, play my piano for a little bit, and then I'm recharged and I'm ready to get back out there. Matt Moore is rock and roll. Being a public muralist, right? Like, I get to say whatever I want, real big, and you have to see it. What? How awesome is that? I mean, I can literally remember drawing since I can remember anything. I actually sold my very first painting ever when I was 7, and I remember thinking, what up, Richard? Yeah, remember how you was making fun of me yesterday? Well, you didn't sell any art today, did you? I grew up, I drew all throughout high school and stuff, right? I like drew stuff for the newspaper and all that. Moved to Charlotte, started bartending. And my early 20s were kind of wild. But I remember thinking like, all right, dude, if you're gonna do this, like, you gotta do it now. And so I had this art show at Butter, which was this nightclub uptown. This was easily the most important moment in my art career, was that first art show. And I did this live painting. I had never attempted a live painting before. My buddy who was reciting this spoken word finished his poem, and I was finishing the painting, and I flipped this canvas and I ripped this off, and the noise that erupted from the room, like I'm getting cold chills thinking about it right now, like will stick with me for the rest of my life. And it was in that moment that I started referring to myself as an artist, I think.
I can tell you that Matt could never work for anyone. I can't picture him doing anything other than what he is doing.
I'm real bad for not wearing a mask when I'm outside. It gets so hot. Another fun fact, this thing's been giving me a rash on my back. Has your back rashed up at all? Darren and I early on knew, as we're designing this thing, it's like we knew that it was going to be a lot.
If that doesn't make sense, I'll just start on these 3 little spouts because that's going to take me a week to paint.
I wanted to paint something big.
See ya.
This was the biggest wall I had ever received. Largest in the city, y'all. It's like right next to my house. That's the reason I chose to paint what I painted. And that's the reason I went as far as I did, because I wanted to mark my territory. I want people to know that when they're coming across Matheson Bridge entering NoDa, that the big bad wolf lives there. They wanted me to paint something that was reflective of the history of the neighborhood. Once I started to design and incorporate the kid into it with the helmet, for me it took a turn. It went from being a big nod to the history of the neighborhood to more of a celebration of, you know, childlike wonder and creativity and the imagination just as a whole.
People see Matt and Darian up on a wall painting. What they don't see is the 3 years that took us to get to this point. He is working at a scale and detail that I think I haven't seen other artists really doing.
The catalog of his brain of hand control is just unbelievable.
The reality is, it is not easy to paint at that scale. There are very few artists who have the experience or understand what it takes to paint a piece that large.
Matt showed me what he's working on, and it's every color we got.
I think we both were sort of thinking this was going to be about 2 months of work. Once we got up on the wall, like the first day, I think it slapped us both in the face, and we were like, holy shit.
It's unbelievable that he would, you know, want to do something that big.
It's not like he's designing these easy things to paint. He's constantly setting the bar high for himself.
He pours 100% of himself into each of those pieces.
When he walked through the door, he looked like he was about to fall over.
Every day, especially over the summer, it would be grueling, man. It'd be so hot, we'd be so wore out, and I would be so tired and over it. And then right around, you know, sunset, I'd be like, today will.
I think Matt is obviously one of the originals here in the city. He was grinding away and working when it wasn't like fully accepted, when it wasn't the thing.
There was a lot of artists that were all doing what we could to make art. Matt, in his way, made a Bible for making art. Everybody wanted more opportunity. It was just there wasn't a lot of it.
It's changed a lot. We have had a pretty deep culture of arts for a while. It was only for a certain echelon of our community. What I have seen and think is happening is all of a sudden those boundaries are getting broken.
Really, since the beginning of the pandemic.
The list of closings and activities being suspended is growing from coast to coast.
And since George Floyd's murder.
Tensions are high as 4 police officers have been fired after a man was pinned to the ground and died.
The Keith Lamont Scott.
Charlotte, North Carolina, protest over a deadly police shooting.
Once those uncomfortable conversations start, all of a sudden it feels more possible to have self-expression on the street corners in ways that we weren't before.
More than a dozen artists spent the day painting this mural on South Tryon Street. As you can see here, it reads, Black Lives Matter.
We have artists who are creating stuff that's from their heart, right? And they're passionate about it. They are making creations that are responsive to what is happening around them.
I don't think we're obligated to do anything. I don't think it always has to be some big social statement or political statement or uplifting, you know, kumbaya moment, right? You also have this platform where it's like, if you don't, you know, is it a wasted opportunity? So here I am designing this piece about what it means to be and think like a child. And then 19 of them were slaughtered.
Another community in America forced to come together and face the trauma of gun violence in America.
It messed me up. I don't want to say anything about gun reform. I don't want to say anything about, you know, any kind of political issue. What I do want to do, though, is let those families know that, like, some redneck over on the East Coast sees them and is thinking about them and is touched by them, right? What we did is when we used the doodle grid to paint the child, first thing we did is we actually wrote out all the victims' names, that they are and will forever be a part of this mural. The other thing that we did was we incorporated 21 birds flying out of the spout. And those are obviously representative of the 21 victims from Uvalde. I don't care if people know that about the mural or not. I want the families to know. I want the families of the victims to know, but I don't care if anybody else knows that.
Matt very much is responding to what's happening around him. That's how he creates his work. Whether there's some sort of traumatic experiences that are going on in his life or in society, that is all filtering itself into his work and his pieces. While we were developing this project, Matt was going through some pretty horrible stuff with his family.
Probably the most stressed that I've ever seen Matt.
It was a very dark place.
Yeah, I was worried about him.
Hey, bud, I'm doing an interview. Can I call you right back? You okay? Everything good? Love you, bye. Yeah. That's the only reason I picked it up. If I see his name pop up, I answer. What's going on with my dad? The thing with my dad is, you know, I lost my mom. That was rough. I was 15. I was about to turn 16. I'm in high school. Things really just kind of started going downhill. It just really got kind of dark for him, you know? And he sort of started to, like, fight less and less and less. I talked to my dad on the phone one night and he just didn't sound good. And long story short, my dad was in the hospital for like 75 days, first couple months of the year. Now look, guys, too, I know we need some drama. I know we need some, and I got it. I think I'm just wired in a way to where, like, I don't focus on it too much, you know what I mean? So, like, I guess I'm bad at, like, talking about it.
He's not the best at letting us know when stuff's getting tough for him.
Well, that's going on. My last living grandparent, like the grandparent I was the closest to my whole life, ended up passing away.
There's absolutely no way in hell that he could have made it through this project and what he's dealing with outside of this project, specifically his dad, without her.
I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for my wife. My wife's a unicorn, the raddest. I'm obsessed with her. We're from very similar worlds, but we're also from very different worlds. And I think that was one of the things that first attracted us to one another. But I also, more importantly, I think that that's one of the things that's kept us together all these years.
Yeah, we are so opposite, and it just so happens that we click in the best way possible.
I don't know how I'd get through all of the things I've gotten through the last 15 years if it wasn't with her being by my side.
It's just been a tricky one this year.
In the 15 years that we've been together, it's happened a few times where she kind of just blacks out and faints. After I got back home from Asheville, from spending 2 weeks in the hospital, we go out for her birthday and then she has an episode. Yeah, that was the real stress of this year, right? She passed out and it was just very different than all the other times. She passed out in a way and, like, turned a certain color. Like, I didn't know if she was dying in my arms, type of thing. Called the ambulance, they got there, and that's like, it's crazy I've like had several dreams of just this clip in time since it happened, but just like watching them put her in the ambulance as it was snowing and seeing the snow like all red and blue, like it was such a weird, scary moment. It's the scariest I've ever been. Once that happens, it's like you're kind of on code red all the time.
He was just being really pushed to his limit.
Matt's personal life is up on a canvas. It is on the wall.
It's hard to think creatively or logistically or, you know, have any type of foresight when you've got all these other stresses in your life, for sure. That's also where I find a lot of peace and solace is like in making art.
He has this idea that, you know, getting up on the wall and finally painting is going to remove some of that burden he's been carrying.
He's in a much better place.
Now that my dad's kind of in a good spot and Ashley's healthy and stuff, I'm just now starting to feel like myself again. The wolf is back. That's a fact. It's always bittersweet, especially with the big jobs. It's like you're really excited to finish it because we've been doing it for 5.5 months now, but it's also, there's a bit of like separation anxiety that comes with it. One thing that I've always been really grateful for is having this outlet. And whenever I'm in a chapter of my life where it is super stressful or it is sad or it is whatever, like having something to dump all of that aggression or emotion or sadness into is the best therapy I know of.
But he's really given this one his all.
I joke with him, I'm like, you guys had a baby. You were on that wall and you created and crafted this massive, bright baby.
I mean, we joke about the boy being a self-portrait of him at that age. How, like, as a child, we have this imagination and it's just flowing out of us.
Yeah, I think it was just a big, like a big flex, a big, like, let me let all this shit out, leave it on this wall, literally, and make something that you can't forget. Because you definitely can't forget Maddie Mill.
I mean, I love it.
I know this is only going to open the door to a global audience.
I am actually flooded with other artists who are coming to me and saying, you know, this is awesome. I hope that you like realize how amazing this piece is that he is producing.
There's no doubt that with this current mural and with what I got coming up, I'm trying to raise the bar. My bar, the bar for the Charlotte art scene.
Doing pieces like this is saying like, I'm ready for the next step.
Where I'm at right now sort of feels like the next chapter.
I don't know what I think is next for him, but I know that he just wants to leave a legacy.
Art aside, I think he already had a bit of a legacy just as being Matt. But his legacy through art is obviously like immense.
I would love to see his work recognized outside of our community.
I think he just wants to tell his story through his murals.
I'm gonna wanna paint something bigger. I wanna try some new creative avenues. Again, you're talking to Mr. Fluid over here, I don't know. Get on that board and ride, sometimes things gotta change.